It will be a fight.
And there'll be a lot of death, unfortunately.
It will be a fight we will win.
But a lot less death. But there will be death.
People should be actually kept out of the country for at least 28 days.
America is not prepared.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Butterfield Effect. My name's Isaac Butterfield. I'm sure you bloody knew that. Congratulations for getting here. Today on the podcast, we have an extremely interesting human being, someone who I've watched their content for some time now. Even before I started YouTube, I really enjoyed this dude. And he's a great guy. We had a really interesting and fun little chin wag here. We had the beards waving about life and love and all that shit, and just basically we spent the entire time talking mad shit, so I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But if you haven't been a part of this podcast before, or if you really enjoy the podcast and you'd like to support it, the best way to do that is to hit subscribe. If you haven't done that already, go ahead and do so right now, or press like. Or you can head to the Butterfield Effect Clips channel, and that's if you can't digest these big podcasts in one go, you can get them in little clips, right? And you go over there, you subscribe, everyone's happy. Also, check out my merch store. If you want to support the channel, because everything is getting demonetized at the moment, go and get a t-shirt, a hat, if you can afford it. If not, whatever. We're all doing it tough at the moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right on into it. This is my conversation with Bearing. Yeah, g'day. How you doing? Welcome to the show, big dog. Now, you're an audio man, as you said before. You don't like showing your face. What are you hiding? Are there scars?
Just an ugly cunt, mate. I'm just an ugly cunt.
What do you fucking call this, mate? I've been showing my head around everywhere. You know what I did before this podcast? I saw someone mention me on Reddit or something, and I started reading. It was Reddit / the NRL. And I did a podcast the other week with Dan and Kemp, who runs an NRL podcast called Bloke in a Bar. And and I started reading some of the comments, and they were fucking so brutal against me. I was so hated in these comments. So I was pumped to talk to you. And then I sit down reading that, waiting for you to jump on the call. And now I'm just in this fucking real negative mind space. I'm a very upset individual. It's like, fucking
wait. What were the negative comments? What were they aimed at?
Let me see if I can see them. They're just like, oh, this Butterfield, he's a piece of shit. This Butterfield, he rehashes old material. This Butterfield thinks he's a fucking good-looking bloke. Like, all these things are true, but you don't have to say it on the internet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, look, I jumped into YouTube in 2015, and at the time, I was in commercial real estate for 10 years. I had a bit of a career in.
You were a real estate agent.
I used to sell pubs. Yeah, I used to sell pubs. Right. That was my speciality down in Victoria. And my brother and I started a business, and we ended up gaining a bit of traction, and we sold that business to a pretty big multinational company. And it was at that time that they bought our business and they absorbed us as directors for their hotel department. And that's when I started my channel. And so I was sort of the mindset of, well, I don't want to show my face because I don't want to go to a meeting one day and have some cunt go, well, you're that bigot from the internet.
I feel you.
I don't like your opinions, so I'm not going to do this $4 million deal with you. That'd fucking suck. And so I've sort of just carried it. And I suppose, like, I got out of that because I started making money on YouTube and online and shit. And I've sort of always just thought, well, one day I might want to go back into that. So I'm not real big on the face thing. I don't want to go down to the supermarket and have some fucking prick go, hey, you're the guy from the internet. I mean, I'd rather just be the cartoon bear. That's just me.
I'm so vain. That's all I want is to be recognised by 12-year-old kids in supermarkets. My weird one is when, like, a young teenage girl says to their dad, "Oh, this is Isaac. I he's on the internet," or something like that, and they think, "Is this some Chris Hansen fucking To Catch a Predator bullshit, or what's going on here? This bloke's a creep." Because I look 40 years old too. It's a fucking weird thing. But and so what's happening with YouTube at the moment? Are you still heavily involved? Look,
I've slowed right down because I told you I had a kid in January. And I've had a few big changes in my life in the last sort of year and a half. I moved from Melbourne right up to the Gold Coast. So I'm in the Gold Coast now. And so we moved up here and I knocked up the missus and she had a kid in January. And to be honest with you, I'm sort of enjoying life. I'm plodding along, doing what I need to pay the bills and look, I'll ramp up again, but at the moment I'm kind of smitten. I'm really in love with my daughter, as you should be.
Yeah,
and I'm sort of just enjoying life at the moment.
No, I'm pumped. I'm pumped to hear that, mate. And as you should, you know, a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers, particularly, or anyone in the entertainment game, and I'm guilty of this too. They're fearful of jumping into real life, and seems like something you've done without a hitch. So that's a credit to you, man, and the missus as well, obviously. But it'll be good to have you back because there's not enough people talking mad shit about the people that need to have people talked mad shit about toward them on the old shoot. So it's one of those things. Sorry,
I was going to say, and the other thing is, I mean, you sort of, I've sort of done that. I mean, as I said, I jumped into this in 2015, and all through that time, I've gone fucking hard and done a video a day at times, and then I've slowed down, and then I've gone hard again, and I seem to be able to bounce back. I mean, a lot of people can't do that, but for some reason, I have been able to, and so I mean. You know, I'm sort of taking this time to sort of enjoy family life at the moment, and I'll jump back into it. And if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, well, I'll go sell some fucking property. I mean,
that's something that scares me particularly is slowing down. You know, like I ramped up there for a while, and I was doing 5 videos a week, and I found it came to the point where you know I was getting half decent views on them, and I was averaging maybe 700,000 views a week, which is great. Not on each video, obviously, but like spread over the videos, and that's cool. But I was concerned that the quality was lacking. I was concerned that my heart wasn't in it as much, and now so I've dropped it back to a podcast and or maybe 2 podcasts and 2 videos a week. You know, Monday, Wednesday ones. So and that way I feel like I can really put my heart into it and actually, you know, delve deep into things rather than just scratching the surface on a lot of things. But that's what you do really well is you dive deep into shit. Like you're a very smart individual. I'm just fucking. You reckon? I'm just throwing.
Come on.
Mate, I'm just throwing caution to the wind.
Mate, I'm as shallow as they fucking come. I'm a deep individual. Go fuck yourself.
You're a deep man. You're a deep dude.
The cartoon bear's an intellectual. Get fucked.
You're so deep you could accommodate this man.
You're a funny man.
I love
listen, how's your stand-up going? I got to say, I'm a big fan of your stand-up. In actual fact, I'm a tad nervous talking to you because
good.
It's not often that I talk to people outside of the YouTube thing. And you're a YouTuber, but you're also a comedian, and you're a fucking good comedian.
Thank you.
And I am a bit nervous, you know, doing this. But how's it going? And do you know have you met Shooter Williamson? That's my big question.
Well, that's a very deep question you've asked. Thank you, deep man. I thoroughly enjoy stand up at the moment. I unfortunately haven't been able to do it in some time, and with Melbourne being cancelled, that was a big kick in the teeth, not only for myself but every comic in Australia who's worth their weight. But
wait, when you say Melbourne, you mean the International Comedy Festival? So
the way that works, and it was only my second one, you turn up and you do 30 or 26 shows every single night. And for a lot of people, that's their money for the year, you know. And thankfully, I tour because I have an online presence. And unlike those cocksuckers in Melbourne who think being on the internet is a step backwards for them, you know, fuck them. They're all poor now. But the thing is, with Melbourne, is it's such a big deal because it also allows you to do what comics are able to do in places like LA or New York. It allows you to gig every night, and that allows you to perfect your hour, make it a whole lot better, come up with new material, expand upon different jokes. And that got me to the point last year where I did it 24 nights. And then I went off and I did another 60 or so shows. So I ended up with 80 shows in 6 different countries in, I think, 10 months. And then at the end of it, I filmed a special, which will hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't know yet, end up on a very big streaming platform. It's with the executives at the moment, so hopefully that lands, and we'll just see over the next couple of weeks. There'll be an announcement if it does. Yeah. If not, I'll crawl into my hole and die. But the stand-up's just such an important part for me because honestly, for me, it was doing YouTube was a means to an end, and it turned out that the YouTube would be the career at the end of the day. But I started doing stand-up probably about 6 or 7 years ago now. And I traveled back and forth between Newcastle and Sydney and all that shit. And I needed to be doing it more. I needed to be doing it in front of people more people. And just doing the open mic scene's not the way to do that in such a small country like Australia. And so I copied the business frame or the business plan of people like Frenchie and people like Josh Wade, who developed an online following, and Shooter, and then started touring off the back of that. And I've met Shooter once. We've spoken several times over like the phone, and Instagram, and that. And Shooter, great guy, very, very nice human being. I've seen a video surface of him recently of punching a crowd member in the face. I didn't have that experience with him, but from all reports, he's a nice dude. I'll have Shooter on the show eventually as well. But no, man, I love doing stand-up and heading over to the States. That what was I had planned a trip over to the States after Melbourne, and I was going to do some shows over there and stuff, and I'm all booked and that. And obviously with the old Rona coming in, that's not happening now. But hey. It'll happen eventually. I've spoken to Josh Wade a couple of times. He's a gem of a bloke, but Shooter, he's a national treasure. Shooter's one of those guys. I can go back and watch one of Shooter's videos like 4 fucking times and piss myself every time. His videos are great. They've always been great, and it's good to see him more involved with YouTube now too. He's doing more videos now and you should go check out his channel, everyone. He's doing more videos that are involving, he's watching videos and reacting to them and just, doing what can help you get more viewers on YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, my alarm's going off, which means I need to head to my YouTube channel. And this is not a planned thing, but I have to do it. And put in my top comment for my Raid commercial, which is on this video, which is going on at the moment. Raid Shadow Legends, ladies and gents.
Shadow Legends, right? That Raid Shadow Legends is going to put my daughter through fucking private school, let me tell you.
It's good to see Shooters doing all that type of shit as well, man. It's he's as you said, he's a very, very funny dude. And he still pulls massive crowds when it comes to Melbourne and stuff like that, and people fucking love him. And
so what's when you say a massive crowd? What do you call a massive crowd? What do you call a massive crowd at say the Melbourne International Comedy Festival? What sort of number would you put on that?
Well, my room this year was 350 or 360 people, so I was planning to fill that every night.
And so here's an interesting question. What do you think is more valuable? Is it a one night gig at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival where you fill a room with 350 people and that goes on to what Foxtel and Nine Go or whatever the fuck it is a couple of times, or is it a video on YouTube with 700,000 fucking plays? Because it's an interesting comparison, isn't it? I mean, a room with 350 people is a massive buzz, and you get the television coverage and all that. But 700,000 fucking sets of eyeballs on a video, like I've done videos in the past where, like I can do a video and get 200,000 fucking plays in a day, and you think, say you got 100,000 fucking views. That's the grand final at the MCG.
Absolutely, and that's the biggest day of the year.
Yeah. What do you think is more valuable and why? Discuss.
Well, my biggest crowd that I've had was last year when I filmed my special, and that was at the Enmore Theatre in Sydney, and there was 2,000 people there. That was hectic.
That's massive. Yeah,
like, that was
massive.
Scary to walk out because the sound reverberating throughout the room, the theatre, is it comes within you, and it's fucking it's a terrifying thing, you know. But with Melbourne, and this is how it sort of works, is they've got their several different big marketing and advertising agencies, like managers and shit. And they have their guys that they pick, and they go, okay, this guy's going to be the next big guy. So we think he's the funniest. So he's going to be on, he's going to get this 5-minute spot, and we're going to put him on Channel 10. And that's how it sort of worked for a number of years. And he's going to be on the project next week, and he's going to do this. And they just push him and push him and push him. But very few of these guys, I think Tommy Little is the only one who is an exception. Very few of these guys ever stick around. Very few of them anyone actually likes, and very, very few of them can tour a show. Now, when someone like me puts out a compilation, let's say, which I did 6 months ago, of my most offensive material or something like that. I put that on my.
Yeah, I think I saw. Was that the one where you said, "What was the?" I was having a beer with two of my brothers, and fucking hell, we roared with. It was. I wish there was something wrong with me, like I was a black person or a woman. Was that the one?
Like I was black or a woman. I love that bit. Dude, that's one of those bits that just turn up, and I just said that one night out of the blue. And it comes, and the thing is, like, I can get away with it because I say it with a smile, and I know it's fucked up. That's why I said it. But that type of shit, like, so that video there, that's got 700,000 views, and it goes for like 15 minutes or whatever. Yeah, right. Now that sells tickets. So that means I can do a tour of the country, or I can even, and this is what freaked me out at the start, I can travel to Belfast and sell 200 tickets in fucking Belfast, a country I've never been to and I know very, very little about, but there are people there wearing my merch. Whereas you can be on the Channel 10 fucking gala for 50 years and no one gives a shit about you.
Yeah, so it must be a trip to think about the difference between being a stand-up comedian and look, I'm not a comedian. I'm a cunt on the fucking internet. I don't claim to be a comedian, but it must be interesting to sit there and think about the differences between being a stand-up comedian these days versus 20 years ago, because you didn't have any of that.
Massive differences. If you don't have an online presence, you're kicking yourself in the teeth. You're not in the game. You know, you're playing a different sport. And there's so many people in the comedy game in Australia who are so far behind the 8 ball. Like, they look down upon me because I'm on the internet. I'm considered a YouTuber who's pretending to be a comic. Whereas, you know, I cut my teeth for 4 years beforehand.
Yeah, that's retarded. That's fucking retarded.
It's a shit attitude. And you're not going to get anywhere with it. And that's why I get, you know, defensive about the whole thing. I'm like, you're a fucking dumb cunt. Like, that's all you are. You're an idiot for thinking that. And fuck you. That's my thoughts. Yeah, it's a different time, man. And like, YouTube is an interesting place. It's hard to get your head around because there's so many different avenues and niches that you can follow. And I started out, you know, I was watching you well before I started YouTube, and I was a fan of yours, and I had subscribed to you well before I started YouTube, and you were obviously from that, you played an influence in my content. And there is so much to be gained from becoming a YouTuber, but also it's a difficult space. I mean, I've noticed recently, after the last 3 months, my content has been demonetized constantly, and views have dropped following that as well. It's quite funny to look at the graphs and you see when the videos started getting demonetized, and the views drop as well. Like, YouTube just doesn't push it, I guess.
And have you noticed recently? I mean, not that we're news people, but recently the CNNs and the NBCs and the Foxes even, they're just pushing these fucking mainstream outlets, and it's almost as if they want YouTube to be a TV channel or a TV outlet or something.
They push the mainstream in to make it more legit. And that's, you know, I get it from a point of view of, you know, they're running a business, they want to run the ads, but you need to look after the people that keep it afloat. The regulars, you know, it's like a pub. It's the regulars.
I mean, yeah. It kind of defeats the purpose of YouTube. I mean, if you want to be us tube or them tube or fuck it some other cunt tube, then be some other cunt tube. But it's YouTube. It was always YouTube. You know?
Yeah. Where do you see yourself come when you head back into the content cycle? What do you see as your focus? Is it because I've noticed that during the particular virus that's going around that we can't mention because this will get demonetized immediately. Yeah. During that, there has been no discussion of gender. There's been no discussion of transgender. There's been no discussion of feminism. It's all been about this particular virus. And I find that really interesting because prior to that, that's all anyone was talking about was these, these social politics. And now it's
there's been a little bit of discussion on it, and it's mostly been centered around transgender people are most affected by said virus because transgenderism,
yes,
or LGBT people most affected because insert reason, or women most affected. I saw one the other day. It was fucking, and I might make a video on it. It was like women most affected by the corona, even though more men die of the virus. Women most affected because they've got to stay home with men, and men are horrible and beat them up.
And more, absolutely. And more women are nurses, more women are in the healthcare system, so therefore they are more affected. Even though the men are dying from it, they're more affected because they are, more exposed to it and those type of things. I think it's just such an easy way and a lazy way for a journalist to look at a situation and go, well, how can we spin that to get clicks? And whenever it's about feminism, it gets clicks, or about transgenderism, it gets clicks.
It's the outrage clicks. Hey, do you watch Dick Masterson?
No. Who's that?
Yeah, you should watch Dick Masterson. He's a funny cunt. He's a funny cunt from LA. He put out a video today saying fucking the virus has caused a fucking overcrowded hospitals, not from the actual virus, but from all the injuries from all the fucking nurses doing TikTok videos.
I saw that last night on the news, the nurses doing TikTok videos. Imagine if you were in there and your nan's just died and some fucking Stacey's over there doing the fucking clock move.
Yeah, you're lying there in your fucking bed, you're on the ventilator, you're fucking drowning in your own lungs, and some cunt is doing the TikTok. Fuck you.
But that's the thing, man. TikTok's another one. TikTok's taken off. I don't know if you've ever thought about getting onto that.
Mate, I've never even gone onto it. I've heard about it. I've thought about it. I've never even fucking. I mean, I should stay up with these, up to date with these things, but I've never even. It doesn't interest me. It's
hard.
It's hard. My 12-year-old niece does TikTok. She does, she dances and does, puts it on TikTok, and it's like, oh, that's nice. But
TikTok is full of pedophiles. That's what it is.
I bet it is. I bet it is.
It is,
because
man.
It's all fucking 10-year-olds on it. It's just.
You scroll through that shit. It's just like some 12-year-olds doing some weird dance, and you're like, "Am I going to go to jail for seeing that? I don't want to see that shit. That's freaking me out." Yeah. I think as soon as Pell was released, they just signed him up for TikTok, and he's like, "All right, mate, we'll give you 3 days. We'll see you soon."
Hey, what happened with Pell? I saw you did a video about Pell or something, or you did something about Pell recently. What happened with him recently? I don't stay up to date with these things in Australia.
So they convicted Pell in 2017 or 18.
Did he actually fuck a kid? Did he fuck any kids?
Allegedly, no. No, he didn't. According to the law, Bearing, he did not.
Right. Did you just cover up other people fucking kids? Is that what?
Can't say, mate. Couldn't say. They obviously have a pretty good legal team, so can't say. But I made a video about it, and I ran it past my lawyer because I was fucking a bit scared. And it was basically just talking about the fact. So he was convicted, and then it was overturned last week. But his first appeal was quashed, and then this appeal with the High Court was, I think it was a 12, like a unanimous decision by the jury. And it was based on the fact that there wasn't enough evidence to convict someone. And I think with this type of case where it is a historical case, it was in the 90s from memory, you know, you're basically going one person's word against someone else's. And this kid was saying, sorry.
So there wasn't enough evidence of him fucking a kid or covering up someone else fucking a kid. I mean, this is all. I'm just asking questions here. I'm not accusing anyone.
No. George is welcome on the show. He's welcome at my house. I think he's a great man. Sure. He what they alleged, and it's been proven to be false since.
Yeah, it's all alleged. Yeah.
Was that he caught them in a wine cupboard or something, and then quoting Pell's lawyer at the time, they engaged in vanilla sex. That is an actual quote about
vanilla sex with a kid.
Yeah, allegedly. I prefer Neapolitan sex to myself. With kids, but just in general. Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to get into kinky sex with those fucking kids, you know?
Nah, they're always playing with blocks and there's Lego in the room. Terrible. I see why you put the bear in front of your face now. So they quashed that. He got released, and then from all reports, he went to a monastery, had a box of wine delivered, and signed up for TikTok. And now has tennis elbow. But I don't know. It's a bit of a weird situation because we all know that he was number 3 in the church, the big richest organization in the world. And then he's just, sort of released and there's no charges and all that type of stuff. Whereas you would think that if you're third in charge somewhere in an organization, you would know what's going on. And as far as cover-ups that would happen in some hypothetical organization, you think you would know what is going on. So that's my big issue with it is that this bloke that happens to be in a hypothetical organization probably knew what was going on. That's
apparently Hitler had no idea about all those Jews being ovened. So, I mean...
Yeah, it was just a thing. Yeah, he was like, when did that happen? And so the board meeting, you guys did what? You did what? No, I said gas the pews, the church pews. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it, where people see it as a failure of the court system, but then other people like Andrew Bolt from Sky News comes out and just weirdly overly defends him. And then you have people on the right that are coming out, not even looking at the case, saying, no, it's ridiculous. You're attacking religious freedoms. And you're like, no, we're attacking people that allegedly put dicks in children's mouths. That's what we're attacking.
Yeah. Did Bolt really defend him?
Bolt had him on. Yeah. Bolt defended him from the whole way through. So did John Howard and Tony Abbott did as well. And the thing is, obviously, he may very well be completely innocent of all crimes, etc. But it is my opinion that maybe I have no opinion, but it's one of those things, man. You can't argue it. And the church obviously has a lot of money, and they're pumping that into the legal fight and all that type of business. So I mean, who knows? Who knows what went down in the early 90s there with Pell and that kid? But the other kid that was involved in the case, he committed suicide, obviously, and that's horrible. And the other one hadn't, and it's a fucking horrible situation.
Yeah. So here's a question: thoughts on the current government and response to coronavirus?
You see, my life is interesting because I don't follow politics as much as I should. And I just
either do I. We're two laymen's talking here. I'm no politics aficionado. I'm a dumb.
I think that Scott Morrison has an impossible job. You can't make everybody happy, and I'm not educated on the intricacies of each policy. I think it's good that people have been given this. Well, not that they've been getting it yet, or they may get it in the next couple of weeks. This job seeker payment. I think that's great. I think that the fact that he's giving small businesses, if they've lost 30% of their income in this financial year, he's sorted out, particular tax subsidies. I think that's great.
Well, hang on a second. When you say that small businesses have lost 30% of their income in this financial year, okay, but that sort of sounds like, okay, it's only 30%. the fact is, small businesses have lost 100% of their income for the last 2 or 3 months.
Yes.
Now, I've run several small businesses. To lose 100% of your income for even 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month is devastating. Is deadly.
Well, let me rephrase that. Yeah. To access that payment or that relief, the minimum amount of loss is 30%. So 30 up to 100, obviously. So you can lose whatever amount. If you lose 20% of your income and you can prove that, then you're not able to get it. But if it's 30 plus, then you can. And I think that's beneficial. Obviously, if you're a small business and you're a cafe or whatever, and you can't open your fucking doors, at least you can pay your rent. At least you can feed your kids. Like that's good. One of the things that I think is quite interesting is that when they come in and they say, okay, we're not allowed to go 1.5 meters near anyone. We're not allowed to go 2 people to a house. We're not allowed to go to the beach. Scott Morrison has never said, hey, listen, this sucks. This is terrible. All right. This is the worst thing, but we have to do it. And that's what confused me about the whole thing. Like, I really think he could have got a lot more people on board with him in this, politically speaking, on his side. If he had just said, listen, I know this sucks. This is horrible. I hate it. But
so you think Scott Morrison should have just expressed his dislike of the situation?
Because it's a shit situation, and everyone's got the shit. Except these guys are like, oh well, they're just coming out and saying, listen, tomorrow you can't look at anyone in the eye, and then they say that, and that's the law, rather than saying, listen, this is fucked up. All right, this is the worst thing I've ever fucking seen. All right, this is bloody terrible. Yeah. But this is why we have to do it. Let's do it.
Well, the other thing is the confusion around what you can and can't do. Like, we were texting 2 hours ago, setting this up, and I said, I'm just going to take the dog and the baby for a walk. And so we went down to the park, and there was a closed sign, like a coronavirus, fucking closed sign on the slide, on the fucking slide.
Yeah. On gym equipment, all that shit at parks and that, everything's closed.
Yeah, and so what are your thoughts about the closures? Are they justified? Do you think they? I mean, it's probably really hard to answer, but do you think they've been effective, and do you think they should continue? I mean, we've had 63 deaths as of 2 or 3 days ago. I think the other day we had 50 new cases out of a population of 25 million. Do you think they should ease up, or do you think, because there's 2 obvious arguments, that's fuck all, we should ease them up, or the other one is they've obviously worked then.
Well, okay, so there is 2 options there. We release tomorrow, and this curve that we're flattening either continues to flatten, awesome, or it goes back up and we go, well, we've got to go back into lockdown. But in saying that, what happens if we flatten the curve completely and then we come out of lockdown and then it reinfect someone, go back to square one? How long do we lock down? Because 63 deaths out of 26 million people is not much. But if it spreads through the community and it gets to 100,000 deaths, then okay, that's an issue. But also, a lot of people die from the flu. A lot of people die from car crashes. It's such a complex issue. But how about this? Yeah. How about this, Barry? This is full on, right? So Dudley Beach, where I grew up in Newcastle, it's shut at the moment. But people go up near the point there at a place called Shelley Beach.
The beach is shut, so you can't go into the. There's chains stopping you from going on.
It's shut. Absolutely shut. Now, you can go up the road and go down like a bush track and get to Shelley Beach, which is just a small beach. And my brother, he told me this afternoon. He was up there. He said it's beautiful, beautiful place. He said there was heaps of people there, right? Packed. He said, for whatever reason, had nothing to do with the people there. It was just unlucky. But this boulder, right? Probably, I don't know, that big, like a washing basket size.
Yeah.
Big washing basket. Started falling down from the cliff face 50 meters up. People heard it, turned around and looked, and into the trajectory of, I know you can't really see that because it's in my green screen, in the trajectory of there we go, of the boulder, or fuck the Coke can, of the boulder was a small baby on a towel. So the boulder's flying down this hill, heading for this baby. And then just at the last moment, the parents notice and everyone's screaming. The boulder hits another rock, splits in half, and goes around the baby.
Great.
And I blame Corona for that. I don't know. It's just insane. My brother told me, I was like, oh, my God. What a story.
What's the point here? The beach should have been shut.
No, the point here is when I was driving home, I thought, I've got to tell Bearing that story. I just wanted to get it in before we stop the podcast.
Yeah, right.
Insane.
Fair enough.
Madness.
Fair enough.
But I
noticed.
Sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I think if we're going this far, shut it down. But, I mean, obviously the logical person in me, or not the logical, but the brain inside me wants it to be in this situation or in this, with this legislation in place until it is at a point where we're safe. But the bloke in me wants to just get back out and get back to normal. So it's...
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
It's one of those sort of situations.
Yeah, of course. It was funny. I was talking to my old man the other day, and my old man's one of those guys that he's got like the fucking, the latest fucking, Land Cruiser Sahara, and he's got a fucking Palace on wheels he tows behind it. He's a big caravan guy, And I'm talking to Dad, and he goes, "Oh, I've got to drive about 150 k's to the caravan repair centre because I got to get some repairs done to the chassis of some shit like that." Right, and he goes, I'm really nervous. I'm going to be fucking pulled over. Because I mean, the cops are going to see this fucking guy in a Swiss Land Cruiser towing a Swiss caravan down the road, down the Prince's Highway, and they're going to go, "This cunt's going on fucking holiday."
Holidays, yeah.
let's pull him over and fine him fucking $1,600 or whatever. But I said, "Dad, hang on a sec. The caravan repair centre's open, right?" He said, "Well, obviously, I've got an appointment." I said, "Well, it's an essential business. So if it's an essential business and it's allowed to be open, why can't you fucking take your caravan there? Surely that would get you out of the fine." But no one fucking knows. It's just confusion. Like there was a young girl in Victoria. My brother was telling me the other day, pulled over, fined $1,600 for learning how to drive. She had L plates up. Her mum who lives with her, she's learning how to drive. I mean, it baffles me, and I haven't looked into this, but there's two things that I wonder here, right? The first is, on what basis are you issuing these fines? Did you pass an act? Is there an actual fucking law that's been broken here? I mean, or are you just issuing fines for the fuck of it? And how is that legit? How is that legal? And the second thing is, once this is all over, when this is all over, and who fucking knows when that is, because it's all just confusing. When's it going to go back to normal? And can some fucking rogue cop, pull you up in 3 or 4 months when it's kind of back to normal, but not, it's kind of not back to normal, and fine you the same thing just because he doesn't like your face?
Yeah, where are you going? This whole idea that people can ask that. And in Melbourne, and Melbourne's obviously the Victorian government's shit house with a lot of things they pass.
Oh, yeah.
They have the police doing spot checks on people's houses, knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, who's here? What are you doing?"
What in terms of what? Hang on, who's here?
Who's here? Legitimately that. Who's in this house?
As in, do you have any visitors over?
Yeah, who's here? Do they all live here? That is insane. Like that is not okay. That is, and I understand why they're doing it. But like even with the government, like when ScoMo's talking about it, or Dan Andrews or whatever his fucking name is, the bloke from the Victorian Premier,
Dickie's Andrew, yeah.
When he's talking, he doesn't say, "Hey, I know this is fucking crazy that we're doing this, but here's why." He just says, "Listen, we're gonna come to your fucking house, and if you got Granny over, we're gonna fine you." It's ridiculous. Like. I don't know. It's. I understand why people are doing it, but it is it's a heinous experience that we're all going through, and something that I think a lot of people will remember for some time. But also, I think that the way we're sort of molded as human beings, we'll forget about it as soon as it's finished. We'll just go back to normal, hopefully.
Well, and it's the hype. It's the fear surrounding it as well. I mean, that's I was saying to a mate the other day, like it's the whole virus, the whole pandemic was one thing, and that's scary. But it's the panic that causes panic. Like 3 weeks ago, like you couldn't get toilet paper.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that fucking arsehole from South Australia? It went viral the other day. It was fucking so funny. There was a manager of a supermarket. He said, this fucking cunt came into the supermarket and said, hey, listen, I'd like a refund on 150 32 packs of toilet paper. Oh. And he said, hey, listen, you know what you can do? You can go fuck yourself. I mean, 'cause he literally stuck his finger up at it. I think it was 150 32 packs of toilet paper and 100 fucking bottles of hand sanitizer. He's like, oh, I want a refund now because I don't need them. He's gone, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. You're the kind of cunt that fucking caused the panic in the first place. Yeah. There's the panic because of the pandemic, and then there's the panic because every other cunt's panicking. Humans are we're just a big herd of cattle when it comes down to it. If someone panics, we go, oh my god, this cunt's panicking. I better fucking panic. Oh my god, I'm gonna panic now. That's how we work. Unfortunately, and I think we're all guilty of it. Like, I saw my supermarket, you know, the toilet paper aisle was empty, and I think at my peak I'd hoarded maybe a couple of 20 packs of toilet paper and a couple of fucking packs of hand towel. And me and Sugar Tits, I mean, for the last week or two, we'd been sitting there going, these fucking retards going out and hoarding toilet paper. It's so fucking stupid. But then it's like, well, there's no toilet paper. I like to wipe my ass after I have a shit. I better fucking hoard some toilet paper. And so you fall into it.
And it was like that with other things too, like the mints and all those type of things. Like, I was guilty of it. I saw, oh shit, there's only one packet of mints left. There's 2 packets. I better grab them because who knows when they're going to be back, you know? And that's how you know, it's like the domino effect sort of thing. I bought a bulk pack of 52 toilet rolls for some recycling place online. So I had 52 there. And my grandmother, she had 98 in her cupboard. Not because she hoarded, well, she did hoard them, but not because she got them for the coronavirus. She just bought them when they're on special.
Yeah, because she's old. She probably lived through the Depression.
Yeah, she knows what's up. She knows it can all fall apart at any moment. She's ready, right? She's ready to wipe anything that needs to be wiped. But it's an interesting thing to see people panic. And when, you know, you look at the news, and it's not so bad now. It's still not great. But you look at the news 3-4 weeks ago, every story for an hour. And then for some reason, a current affair became an hour long. So it's 2 hours talking about how bad this is and how we all might die. You know, it's a panic situation. And people were scared. People were anxious. They still are, you know, they're worried. And then it became about income. Like, what are we going to do about our income? Is our house safe? And no wonder people were scared. Yeah. No wonder people are.
And I mean, and that's a legit concern. And yeah, a lot of corporations and companies have put payments on freeze. Like, you know, Optus aren't cutting phones off because you haven't paid your bill. A lot of the banks are easing things up, you know, but when it comes to like landlords and that, so you or I could be a landlord. My old man's a landlord. You know, a lot of people in my family are landlords, and that's how they make their money. They work their fucking asses off. They bought property and they collect rent. And so, I mean, you hear people sort of say, oh, there should be a mortgage freeze. There should be a fucking rent freeze. Well, yeah, okay. But, you know, what about the next guy who doesn't get his money? You know,
like I get where they're coming from when you talk about the rent freeze. Like, it's obvious. That
I do too. I absolutely do too. But there's always the next guy who gets fucked over it. I get both positions, you know?
I mean, if anyone needs to cover that cost, it's the government, because apparently they don't give a fuck about going into debt. They just print more money, apparently. That's there. In 6 weeks, it's going to cost fucking a wheelbarrow load full of fucking $100 bills to buy, you know, some A2 milk. Yeah. That's the fear, full Zimbabwe style or wherever it was. But I mean,
that's the thing. The government is ultimately us, isn't it? I mean, so we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for it. Of course,
it's like where we're bailing out Virgin. Well, where's the dividends for us in 10 years when they're back turning a profit? Do we get a little bit of a checking the mail.
Yeah.
You know? We're the ones funded, and my tax is funding Virgin. Can I have a free trip or some shit? Like, hook me up, bros. Come on, Richard. I know you sold it a long time ago to the Chinese, but come on, bros. Hook me up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Hey, speaking of, and this might be a fucking sensitive topic. What do you think should happen to? Is it China's fault? And what do you think should happen to China? What do you think the repercussions should be?
I saw on Twitter the other day a gentleman in America saying that the wet markets in China are just butchers. They're exactly the same as the butchers that we have here at the supermarket. And that
I've never fucking gone to me butchers and seen them cook a fucking Labrador live. Get fucked. That's
a dumb cunt. Like, are you fucking serious? This cunt has obviously never seen the photos where they got fucking the weird armadillo cunts laying on top of bats and there's a fucking gerbil up its ass. Like, that is not a butcher. There's no hygiene. This is why these animals their diseases are thriving, because disease thrives in moist, hot, dirty climates. And what is more moist, hot, and dirty than a fucking wet market? What a dumb cunt. And that cunt, he was only saying that because he was trying to push his social brownie point, saying, hey, look, I'm defending China. China doesn't need your defense, mate. All right? There's 1.5 billion people there, a few less now after the coronavirus, but 1.5 billion people, or whatever it is. And they're just fucking, that is a crazy world over there. Like, we don't understand it at all.
Yeah, it sounds like he just started a fucking traineeship at the fucking
BuzzFeed or something.
At the World Health Organization.
Yeah. So it is the Wuhan virus. There is no doubt about that. Trump is completely correct when he calls it the China virus. Whether or not it started there for the first time, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. But that is where it's got its name. That is where it's cut its teeth. It did its apprenticeship, and it came to world renounce, if that is a word. It came to world. Everyone knew about it from Wuhan, from that wet market. Therefore, it is the China virus.
Well, I think it definitely started in fucking Wuhan. I think the question is, did it start at the wet market, or did it start at the bio laboratory up the road? And that, a lot of people call that a conspiracy theory, but fuck me, like, you've got, I think there's two bio fucking weapons, or bio research fucking institutes within 10 kilometers of the market. I mean, it could have been accidentally leaked out, and a lot of people are saying, even some in the mainstream media are questioning this now. Yeah. But it came from China, right? I mean, I've heard people say, "Well, that's it, fucking war with China. Let's nuke China." That's obviously bullshit. But there should be ramifications. I mean, they knew about this thing in late December, and they covered it up for fucking days and days and days, if not weeks. And that's how it spread, and that's why we're all fucking at home. That's why the world economy's fucking crashed. There's got to be ramifications.
Well, sorry, go on. No, from memory, I'm just Googling it now. Germany in World War II or World War I, they were issued with a fine.
War reparations, of course, war reparations. World War I and fucking two, and so
Germany agreed to pay reparations of 132 billion gold marks to the I can't pronounce that. The Treaty of Versailles, which were cancelled in 1932. Anyway, the same
Treaty
thing.
Treaty of Versailles was after World War I think, and that's
sure. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just reading off the front page of Wikipedia. It's a bit fucking weird. Anyway, it's one of those things where this is exactly what China should be faced with, because they didn't act accordingly. They didn't tell enough people. They should be absolutely be held accountable for this. Maybe not in entirety, but at least a little bit. Like, throw some change in the hat.
I tell you what they should be faced with, and this is both is that the word, punitory and practical. I mean, something like 80% of our pharmaceuticals and manufacturing is direct from China. We buy everything from fucking China, but in particular, things like face masks and and medical supplies and pharmaceuticals are manufactured in China. That needs to come home, and America needs to take back their own manufacturing and maybe us, but certainly the big boys like America and Britain and some of the other countries, and that's gonna fucking have an effect on their economy, because they've largely covered this fucking thing up, kind of thing, and then they've done things like there was a story about Chinese people buying fucking face masks and shit here and shipping them back to fucking China. I mean, we need to be more independent in what we produce and what we consume, at least, and that's going to have a knock-on effect of affecting China's economy, which they fucking deserve, obviously.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. When we rely so much on outsiders other countries to produce things that we need on a daily basis, and then we go and sell land that is now owned by foreign entities that can legally sell crops or oil or coal back to that particular foreign entity, and we don't have a say in that. Like, that is scary. That is real problem. That is a real problem if we face something like a pandemic where the death rate is higher than 20 or 30% rather than the 3% or 2% or 1% that we're facing now, or a world war. That's when the issues arise. And we are due for a world war. This has to happen soon.
I haven't even put any thought into that, but fingers crossed, eh? If a world war happens, we're fucked. We're fucked.
So fun. I hope I become part of the Australian or some type of propaganda machine, and I can just sit back and get paychecks.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
I've had enough.
I mean, it's pretty cowardly, but thank fuck. I mean, I'm 36. I don't know what you are. You must be 30 something.
No, I'm 26. Thank you very much, mate.
Jesus Christ, you fucking Jesus Christ.
The harsh wind.
I mean, thank fuck for that. I'm not getting conscripted. You cunts can go fight that. Fuck
yeah,
you.
I mean, hopefully, give me another 20 years and then send me kids off or something like that. But it is a scary thing. It's a reality, and it's funny to watch how people are so unprepared for something like that. Like, I was thinking about that when this virus started. I was like, fuck, there's no way Mrs. Butts and I, we can do anything to find our own food and shit. Like, I got a couple of knives around the house, but that's about it. We're fucked. So, but anyway, we put a kibosh on the time limit, didn't we? 1 hour. That's all the people get.
We did, yeah.
The Butterfield and Bearing podcast.
All we've talked about is the fucking coronavirus.
That's all that's happening. What else is happening? I think we might have to hit this in a part 2, Bearing.
I'd love to do a part 2. Yeah, absolutely. I think we should do a part 2 and talk about anything but.
Okay, we're not allowed to talk about the Rona. All right, we'll do that in a month. Sounds good. Yeah. Well, mate, thank you very much for coming on the show. I do appreciate your time and your efforts here today, and seeing your lovely avatar. And is there anything you'd like to plug? Any social medias or anything like that to the people out there?
No, not really. Just go fucking search for Bearing on YouTube, and
that's it. That's what I always say too. Just Google it. You'll be right. Yep. You'll find something. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for Bearing. If you are looking for small bites of this podcast, you can head to the Butterfield Effect Clips channel. If you can't digest the whole thing, head there. And that's pretty much about it. Anything else, Bearing?
That's it, man. Thanks. Good to talk to you.
Any piece of advice about life?
Go fuck yourself.
All right, cocksuckers. See you then. Toodaloo, bye.